Turn a blind eye to corruption and you lose sight in your other eye. Said by yours truly. And we have the poem here, Life Doesn't Frighten Me, but we're going to skip that today. And the agenda, we're going to talk about MP Darrell Vaz and the rural school bus program. That's a story that's not going away. We're going to make sure that, and we call it today's segment, the full story part 3, but it's not the full story. It's just part of the full story. Today, we want to talk about where did the money go? And I'm telling you people, you're going to be shocked because the money did not go where you thought it went. And they're still spending money on these rural school bus, the rural school bus program, and there is no accountability. For example, Kevin, they're taking these buses now like on an island tour. They're just bringing them to the country. And the question is, we're going to roll out in September. And by the way, who's paying for the fuel? Again, it's not coming out of their pockets, but the buses, them are paraded. So the question you have to ask yourself, is this an election ploy? You know what I mean? It's like they bring the buses, and it's like driving around and telling people, look at what the government is doing. But the truth is this, people, we also must look at what the government is doing. You see what I said? They said, look at what the government is doing. And we're saying, yes, let's look at what the government is doing.
Right.
By extension, let's look at what the government is not telling you what they're doing. So there's a story there today. And then the second story, will Jamaicans get unfettered access to all beaches? Keywords there. Unfettered access, all. We're gonna play a video and you're gonna be amazed at how they try to twist things, turn things, they try to befuddle you, they try to give you the impression that you will have access to all beaches, but they don't say all. They're saying is you'll have access to all public beaches. We don't want that. We want access to all beaches, for all Jamaicans. So we're waiting on Dr. Devon Taylor to come on because he's going to be speaking to us about that. And here we go. Head boy will join us. Not sure how long he'll spend with us, but we'll see because he's trying to sort out some time issues right now. There it is, Dr. Devon Taylor, JaBBEM. He's bringing a guest with him. Engagement norms, you know them. Here it is again, people. I just love this. Love this. The truth will set you free. But first, it will make you miserable. And you know why? If you tell a lie, it is going to make you miserable. But it will set you free. It will set you free. So we are going to do a thing. But this one of people, when I should write this one down, you know, when I should really write this one down. And when the people them come to you with them little liar argument, you just say, let me tell you the truth because it is going to set you free. But I need you to sit down because first you will be made miserable. And once we get past the miserable portion, then you will fully understand. Here's another one. I really, really like this one too. Truth is not what you want it to be. And that's what we're finding out with a lot of our people in Jamaica. They want things to be truthful, but they know it's not true. So it says, truth is not what you want it to be. It is what it is. The truth is. And you must bend to its power or live a lie. Jamaican people, how much longer now live a lie? We've been living a lie from 2016. From 2016, well, way before, but I'm saying since I got involved in the space, my vision only go back to like 2016 in terms of laser focus on the issues. If I go back past that, it's just for reference. But 2016, I'm looking at the 2016 manifesto and the 2020 manifesto. And by the way, people, soon as they put out the manifesto, please let me know, call me, because they might not send it my way. But if you hear about that manifesto, just call me and just let me just go ahead and just do what I have to do with this thing here. All right? Let me see what else is.
Has the PNP manifesto come out yet? Has the PNP manifesto come out?
Beg your pardon?
Did the PNP do a manifesto?
I haven't seen a manifesto for anybody.
I haven't seen it.
Well, I'm waiting for the manifesto because, I'm familiar with the manifestos. I'm familiar with the manifestos for both parties. But I'm paying special attention to the one party that's leading the government because they're the ones spending the money. They're the ones in control. They're the ones fighting against the Integrity Commission. They're the ones putting people over at the FID. They're the ones extending the tenure of the DPP. They're the ones involved with all the scandals involving taxpayers' money. So we're gonna focus. We're gonna look at both manifestos, but we're going to spend time looking at the JLP's manifesto. Why? Because they're in power and they're saying, give us another term so that we can continue doing what we're doing. And we're saying, wait a minute, before we do that, let's look at what you have done. And then we can decide. And that's what we're doing. Remember this. Kevin, if I ask you who was the runner-up at the 100 meters, the last 4 Olympics, the last 4 World Championships, you probably won't remember them. If I ask you the winners, you'll remember, right?
Easier to find.
Yeah?
Easier to find.
Yeah, and that's what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the people who won and they're leading. So here's the third one. Never worry about who will be offended if you speak the truth. And believe me, we have offended a lot of people. Worry about who will be misled, deceived, and destroyed if you don't. That's our worry. We don't worry about people who come and talk and carry on. No, we worry about our people who will be misled, deceived, and destroyed if we don't speak the truth to them. And if you notice, we're kind of moving away from saying if you don't speak facts to them, because we know that you have facts that are not true. You have facts that are not true. It is a fact that they said all of these promises, but it's not true that they've delivered them. There are lots of facts that are not true. So that's why we focus on truth or truthful facts. So, Kevin, what you have to say to the people now before I move into this video? I'm going to take over a bit, Kevin. Let me just call Dr. Taylor and find out where he is. Oh,
he's right here. He's right here.
Right on time. Right on time. Right? Listen, Dr. Taylor. Listen, Dr. Taylor. I want you to sit with us because I want to play a video for the people. People were going into the segment now about unfettered beach access for our people. And I want you to watch. It's about 20 minutes or so, but I think it's well worth it for you to watch. You know why? Because you're not going to hear only from us about why our people should be granted unfettered access to all beaches. You are also going to hear the government's position. And this is something that we haven't really heard for quite some time. And it's not publicized, but in this video, it's publicized. And you're going to hear the passion from Dr. Taylor, but not only the passion, you're going to hear the truthful facts coming from him. And then you watch what the government how the government is going to respond. I want you to watch. Mr. Tavares, you have something you want to say? Oh, you want to come on? Okay. All right, let me add Mr. Tavares to the thing. I've seen the people, I know him and love him. Some people call him names. But, names, say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me or something like that. I think so we'll bring on Dr. Taylor right now. So Dr. Taylor, big up yourself, Dr. Taylor. Welcome to Reason with Rattigan. So we have a reason today about an issue that is very troubling, very concerning, very significant to our people. And that is
give thanks to be here.
unfettered. You know, just a beach access. It's an unfettered beach access. For all beaches, for people to go on any beach in Jamaica. You want to set this thing up, just talk to us while I just pull up the video, and then we'll go to Kevin will pull it up. Go ahead and talk to us about this video. Yeah. Well, first, let me ask you, how did this video come about? Why did you do it?
Well, I mean, I got an invite to sit, in and discuss this beach issue. And of course, the advocacy call for education. But in the context of really who was going to be present within this reasoning was not declared. So, I mean, the truth is I appear on this program not knowing that the government emissary will be there. But it was supposed to be a discussion about, JaBBEM's position, what is the status of beach in the country, not knowing that, well, we're going to bring in here, someone who represents the government's views. So, it came about from just a reasoning with the CVM team to really explore what's going on and provide a perspective from the people's, point of view.
All right, good, sir. Without further ado, here's the video.
Jamaicans continue to resent the fact that the best beaches in the country are locked away from them, corralled by the operators of big, medium-sized and small hotels. How long or for how much longer must the masses accept this reality? And what must the government do to ensure that the sons and daughters of this land can luxuriate on the beaches of the kind they see in advertisements promoting Jamaica to the world? That's the issue for discussion. Lead story on this Friday here on CVM TV. Let's start the show. Good evening. My name is George Davis, and this is Lead Story. Beach access gets the treatment in this, our final show for this week. I want to start the program by reminding you of something the Prime Minister said in his budget presentation in March, where he spoke to the issue of beach access, reflecting the government's sensitivity to this vexing issue among a large cross-section of people in the country. The Prime Minister said his government was doing something about it. This is what he said.
Madam Speaker, I've listened very carefully to the debate around beach access. I've had to do it because the policy falls under the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. And we have spent a lot of time going through the policy because the issues are fundamental. We are dealing with the rights of the people. We're dealing with people's prescriptive rights. We're dealing with property rights. We're dealing with people's right to enjoy their environment. And we have to go through all of them carefully. But one thing must be sure. We must be certain, and we must be unequivocal. Jamaicans are entitled to access their beaches. Absolutely. But one thing we know, Madam Speaker, there is one thing to speak about access.
We've never sold a beach.
There is another thing, Madam Speaker, to actually do it. Enable access. So we believe everybody must have access, but we go a step further. Madam Speaker, I am happy to announce that the government will be upgrading a number of beaches across the island for public access.
And perhaps the problematic part of the Prime Minister's statement was that last bit where he said upgrading public access, not increasing access. So we're going to come to that. Now, Jamaica is approximately 494 miles long, 30% of the coastline, of course, sandy. Then the Beach Control Act, Jamaicans have no inherent rights to the beach. Jamaicans have no inherent rights to the beach and access to beach under the Beach Control Act. No person shall be deemed to have any rights in or over the foreshore of the island or the floor of the sea, save such as are derived from or acquired or preserved under or by virtue of this act, meaning the Beach Control Act of 1956. Well, to discuss this issue this evening, I've asked two gentlemen who sit at different ends of the spectrum. Devon Taylor, Dr. Devon Taylor is the president of the Jamaica Beach Birthright Environmental Movement, JaBBEM. He's on Zoom, and in studio with me I have the gentleman, Dr. Kerry Wallace. He's the executive director of the Tourism Enhancement Fund. We were set to be joined by Jamal Banton. Yes, he's on. Jamal is on. He's a coastal engineer, and he's with he leads the respected coastal engineering firm, Smith Warner International. Gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to Lead Story.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good.
Yeah, good.
And that's also just to test the audio. Let me start with Dr. Wallace in studio. Dr. Wallace, this issue continues to rankle with Jamaicans. Professor Carolyn Cooper has several columns writing about beach access. Dr. Taylor has been very strident in the year that JaBBEM has been formed, and there has also been some informed perspective on the issue advanced by Jamal Banton and his team. When can Jamaicans expect more access to better quality beaches in the country?
Right. So the good news is that we at the TEF, we have embarked on beach development, public beach development, recognizing that there may be displacement happening in our tourism sector, and certainly in the past we've had that. But what we're doing now is that we're making sure that we develop enough public access beaches and developing them at the standards and levels where every Jamaican will be proud of them and proud to partake in the amenities of those beaches. And we have 13 beaches on our cards now.
30 or 13?
13 beaches are dotted across Jamaica. I mean, these are development programs that are huge budgets and so on, so it takes a while for us to get there. But just because we're doing 13 doesn't mean it's only 13 that we'll end up doing. In fact, there are 66 beaches that NEPA has presented to us that are available. We took the first 13 in terms of our capacity to develop. So we are advanced stages of designs and all those. In fact, 4 are at the stage where we can begin works in this financial year. And so our idea is that if we're blessed as a country with a lot of beaches, and if we
That's why the public vex, because we're blessed with beaches and we can access the good ones.
And the whole idea is that if we can develop, you know, there are varying stages. There are long beaches that have access to everyone. I mean, Negril Beach, for instance, is 7 miles, and everybody has access to Negril Beach, can walk up and down without uninhibited. There are some that are in a cove that the property may have only access to. But what we're trying to do is make sure Jamaicans are not short of beaches, not short of the beach experience, not short of being shown respect, to have boardwalks, to have restrooms, to have Wi-Fi, to have security, to have lifeguards, to have parking, and have the standards where they and their families can enjoy the amenities that we're blessed with.
And that's the point, because people go to the few public beaches that are of good standard and say it's like a caveman experience. Jamal Banton, I'm in Barbados, and I can walk onto the best beach in Barbados, even if that beach is aligned with one of the big hotels there. And I'm saying to myself, so why can't I do that in Jamaica? Is it that Jamaica is short of access points or just short of beaches overall? What's the perspective from Smith Warner?
Absolutely. So we've been fortunate enough to be working all throughout the Caribbean, and Barbados is one of those places. And wherever you go in Barbados, you're never more than 5 minutes away from a beach. And along the coastline of Barbados, there are specific windows that allow access to the public to the beach. So those are stipulated by government, and those easements have to be maintained. So if you're doing a new development in Barbados and you have a stretch of the shoreline, you do have to leave an access point for people to go to the beach. And ever since the 80s and 70s, Barbados have been very serious about beach access. And it would be criminal for anyone to come and say, I'm putting a development here and there's no beach access. So they've been very serious about it. Jamaicans, on the other hand, and us Jamaicans have not been that serious about it. We've allowed, in some cases, resorts to build groins or stone structures along beaches, and which have denied Jamaicans access to the beach. So we just haven't been as serious about it.
Dr. Taylor, you've in the past been very, very critical of the government's approach to improved and greater beach access for Jamaicans. You've said about the Prime Minister's beach access management policy, quote, he wants to, he's mixing up general rights and qualified rights, and what he's doing is deceptive and contradictory. Why such strong language?
Because the Jamaican government is complicit in the exclusion of Jamaicans from our beaches. Straight up. Listen, among the 13 independent Caribbean islands, Jamaica is the only island that have this policy in place. And the foundation of this policy stretched from a colonial era law, the Beach Control Act of 1956. You quoted a subsection of it earlier. That law does not give us no rights. When you look at all the policies across the Caribbean, all the beaches in the Caribbean are public except the Jamaica, right? And because our laws that are on our books, okay, which is colonial in its origin, all right, the entire Caribbean shares a plantation, coming from plantation, coming from slavery, right, into independence. We have kept that law on our books. That law have ingrained itself now in economic policy of our tourism industry. And like, in slavery, there's 1% that controls the tourism economy, is holding the government hostage. Government is playing along. The government is supporting these laws and excluding the Jamaican people.
So Dr. Taylor, hold on, Dr. Taylor. What
1%?
What do I get to? Let me see if I understand you. Are you saying then that because of the antediluvian nature of the legislation, it's out of keeping with the modern realities? You're saying it's old, not fit for purpose anymore, antediluvian, that's what it means. You're saying that because this law is like that, the hotel developers have exploited this old, weak, unfit for purpose law, and the government has been going along not even realizing that they're being exploited. Is that what you're saying?
They realize that is the unjust thing. But they do realize it. It is a conscious act. It's not something that is unconscious. Listen, people across this country every day suffer from exclusion. Our government know it. It's not a maybe, it's not a if.
Yes.
It is the reality on the ground.
Yes.
This is our organization of 3 government entities as defendant in the courts when we are defending the rights of the Jamaican people to access their beaches. It is not coincidental, this is a purposeful mission.
Yes. Hear you on that. Dr. Wallace, you've heard.
Right. So
yes.
the first thing is, I hear the comparison with other destinations, and most of them are much smaller than Jamaica. They don't have the abundance of beaches that we have. And he mentioned 1% of the beach ownership for tourism. Come on, tourism is Jamaica's #1 industry. Tourism provides the largest employment in the country. I mean, we have to consider development of the people. That same plantation, slavery thing, the best thing we can do for our people is give them a good quality of life. It may build out industries so that they can have employment, they can have entrepreneurship opportunities, they can live a great quality of life. And that's what we're doing. And we're building out 13 free public access beaches to lift the standards. I don't want my people to go to no beach where they have no bathrooms, go to any beach where they don't have any parking, no lifeguards, and no Wi-Fi. We're developing all of that for our people. So as far as I'm concerned, we are doing more for the liberation of our people than fighting this fight to now inhibit tourism.
I don't know if you gentlemen are music men, but as you said 13, in my mind was the Outcast song which says, when 16 is not enough. Is 13 enough? Is the point I hear the stakeholders are making.
Right.
Is 13 enough?
So what I'm saying here is that it's not like they'll be excluded from every other beach. There's only 13 enough. I'm just saying we're upgrading 13 to the highest standards.
To be completed by when? This process of
So we have 4 that the works will begin in this financial year, but the 13 will be phased in subsequent financial years until we get those on. In the meantime, we'll be adding more into the pipeline. So it will be a continuous
And you're saying that the baseline that those beaches should have, each beach should have good bathrooms, Wi-Fi, secure parking,
security, lifeguards, shops, restaurants, kiosks, will it be an experience?
Amenities are plenty.
Precisely.
Right, let me go to Jamel Banton. Jamel, the Barbados, and Dr. Wallace has a point. It's different to Jamaica. And I know that in the past you've written about the fact that Negro's 7-mile-long beach has many access points. So the complaint from people down that side is not as much as people who are on another part of the island. So the question then emerges.
Yes.
Is there enough of this kind of area developed by the government so that people can have the access points that our friends and compatriots in Negril enjoy?
So I would say I appreciate what the TF is about to do or has been doing with the few or 13 beaches, but I think there needs to be a lot more. Yes, Jamaica is very different geographically. So whereas you have long stretches of beaches in Barbados, along the entire shoreline in Antigua, in say Cayman, and in the Negril, you do have access points. Jamaica's geography doesn't allow for that because we have small coves and bays. So there's not this long stretch of beach where people could have access to. So in many cases, people can't go to the shoreline because the rocky shoreline or the beach is just in a cove and the owner has fenced off their property. So it is very different. So the government has to be deliberate about creating these beaches, new beaches, or enhancing some beach coves so that people can have access to them.
Yeah, Dr. Wallace, just before we go to the break. Just before we go to the break,
Yes,
Dr. Taylor made the point, he said that what exacerbates the problem is the fact that the government allows these hoteliers to build structures to block a space that would have been a natural access point to the beach. And that's why he said the government has been complicit in locking out Jamaicans.
Well, I'm aware that MEGJEC is looking at that amongst other archaic laws on our books and so on. But what we are doing at TEF in the interim is ensuring that because what we believe is that if all our people have access to a beach close to them and it's very well appointed and they're loving it, in fact, we hope that these beaches will also spawn tourism entrepreneurship, Airbnbs in a cluster around that beach and so on, and get more and more Jamaicans to get a piece of the tourism pie.
Dr. Taylor, a lot of people support your group and the fact that you have dragged these 3 government agencies before the court, defending the rights of the people to access and enjoyment to the best beaches. You've won a lot of supporters for that. But I hear some people saying, does Dr. Taylor not know that the situation in places like Barbados, places like Antigua and Barbuda, and the culture is so different that you allow Jamaicans access to beaches, the best beaches, and pretty soon a man will set up a stall, he'll be selling spliff, he'll be jerking chicken, he'll be doing things like these. I've been around the Caribbean, thankfully, and I'm on a beach in Barbados, and I don't see the kind of vending and the kind of lawlessness and the disorder that attends to some of the better beaches in Jamaica that the public has access to. What do you say to someone who has that perspective?
Listen, that is a racist kind of a view to have about Jamaican. That is stereotyping the Jamaican people. This is kind of like an anti-black racist kind of an argument to advance. Jamaicans are good people. We are good standing people, and we need to move off away from those prejudicial way of thinking. And I want to say to my colleague in the studio, listen, tourism is not going to save Jamaica. The kind of tourism that we're practicing right now, which is an extractive tourism, is 5 cents out of every dollar. That's
no, man, you have the numbers wrong.
You're going to get the right of response, Dr. Wallace. Hold on.
Because you spoke
Dr. Taylor, hold on. Remember, Dr. Taylor, hold on. Remember, I'm the referee. You're all my guests. You have protected time now. He'll have the right of response, so go ahead.
Yes, there's pollution, okay? We have seen, exclusion of our people. Tourism is actually inhibiting our access rights, and our fundamental rights must come before anything else. Now, I'm not anti-tourism. Yes. I've born up in a center very close to the industry, but the kind of tourism that we're talking about
And Barbados, St. Kitts and Nevis, Grenada, they're not different from Jamaica. We're all the descendants of enslaved Africans living in a liberated, independent, island nation.
Hold it right there, Dr. Taylor.
To be afforded the same rights that these folks have. No conditional rights, but full rights to our environment.
Hold it right there, Dr. Wallace.
Right. So what I say to you, my brother, is that tourism is open to all of us. You are making it seem as if tourism is white and you're limiting access to black. Tourism is open to every Jamaican. You heard of Airbnb, you heard of social media, you heard of Instagram. We can all market to our guests now, and we can all provide tourism accommodations. In fact, last year alone, 31% of our arrivals stayed in non-hotel accommodations. The year before was 29%. So not only is tourism growing in Jamaica, but villas and Airbnbs and so on are growing faster than the other tourism.
But you see, Dr. Wallace?
And the visitors in those Airbnbs cannot access the beaches.
What are you talking about? Which country you live in? Of course they can access the beaches. Where? Of course they are going to multiple beaches. There are 66 beaches in Jamaica.
Hold on, Jamaica. Hold on, gentlemen, hold on, don't talk over each other.
I promise you every single one of them access beaches.
Yes. Dr. Taylor, your response.
No, I'm saying that there's many Airbnb members who contact JaBBEM about accessing the beaches. When you get off a plane in Montego Bay and you drive along the coastline, I want you to count to me how many access points you have. You have to reach to the beaches there. Yes. I used to have 3.89 miles of beach access in my county of Steertown. I have none. So don't sit there and tell me that. We live a reality that may be different from yours. It's 2.84 miles of access that the Jamaican people have, as reported by NEPA, and there's 494 miles around the country.
Hold it right there, gentlemen. Here's the thing. I must go to Jamel Banton before I go, because here's the thing, Jamel. Based on the Prime Minister's beach access management policy and what it purports to do and what Dr. Wallace says is being worked on right now, is that enough? And are we moving fast enough to increase access given the resources that we have playing with?
So we are not moving fast enough. I like where we're going, but we need to move faster. And we need to address some of those beaches that have gone. Hellshire, for example, is a situation that we should be ashamed of. We've allowed it to go, and we're allowing other beaches to go that we need to pay attention to. And if we don't have as many beaches as you guys are saying, we don't compare to other nations when you compare our size to our population. So we don't have enough beaches, we don't have enough access points. So I am for tourism, I am for development, but we have to strike that balance, and we need to recognize what we don't have enough of, and we don't have enough beaches, and we need to protect the ones that we have.
Hear you on that. Gentlemen, that's all the time I have. There's just enough time for me to say that I am in line with those who want greater access to public beaches. I'm also in line with those who say, well, there is development taking place now to improve the conditions at the ones that are now currently accessible, and we go in phases, increasing access and increasing the quality of access, because access means nothing if it's like a caveman beach. I can't enjoy it with my family, I can't enjoy it by myself. So those have to improve. The TEF is working hard. People like Dr. Devon Taylor are very, very useful to the process because they are the ones advocating for things that you and I can't be bothered with. Beach access is a problem in Jamaica, has long been a problem in Jamaica. The government says it is sensitive to this need for greater access, and the Homeless Administration says it's doing something. I say that there's enough to be optimistic about where the future of beach access is concerned. And just to make a point, that is not just access to bathing beaches, but I've heard fishermen, fisherfolk, women fish as well, say that fishing beaches, there's also an issue where that is concerned, given the scale of development on the coastline. But that's all the time we have. This is Lead Story. Thank you, Dr. Wallace.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Pleasure speaking to you, and thank you, Jamel Banton, for speaking as well from the Zoom platform. This has been Lead Story.
Well, folks, there you have it. And we are pleased to be joined by our brother, our advocate, the man who not take no talk, the man who have that fighting spirit that many of us lack today, the man who's so courageous that he put country before self. and family. And that is difficult for most of us to do. That man is none other than Dr. Devon Taylor, a man I think embodies the spirit of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Not saying he's Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the spirit in the way he approaches this thing, where he's unafraid to speak, and speak not only for himself and his community, but for the entire Jamaican population. My brother, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to have you with us. You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, man, give thanks. You know, I mean, it's like trauma when you play them, click the back, and you get these flashbacks, you know, recognizing what a member of the government is trying to advance to the nation as a justification as to why we are having that problem, right? It's so disingenuous, you know, one other thing about what this interview has done is has allowed time to elapse for us to judge based upon what Dr. Wallace pointed out in his defense of the government, right? So this interview was in 2024, and they said they were working on 13 beaches. All right. I don't know if I have sharing capabilities on this platform, because I want to share something.
Yes, you're supposed to have capabilities. Go ahead and put it up, and then Mr. Rattigan will give you the ability to share.
Yeah.
There's a plus sign there.
Okay.
And then go down and share screen at the bottom part of it.
Right. But
you know, people, while they're doing the sharing, let me just say this, Dr. Taylor, that a very dear friend of ours who knows this man, Dr. Kerry Wallace, knows him, knows his family, wrote to me and said that just keep in mind, and I don't know if it's true, I'm just telling you what was sent to me, that Dr. Kerry Wallace's family business owns beachfront hotels in Negril, including the Boardwalk Village located on 7 Mile Beach.
And that is absolutely right.
Go ahead, Mr. Tavares.
It is true.
It is true.
Yes. Whoever sent it to you, it is true.
He's coming from a perspective of private ownership versus public ownership. And one of the things that I noted in the interview, and I made note of it, is that they said, the Prime Minister said, Jamaicans are entitled to access their beaches. Their beaches. Do we own those beaches that are owned by the hoteliers and the other people, like the handles, and do we own those beaches? And then I noticed that they were saying, they kept saying that they're upgrading beaches for public access. That's not all the beaches. We're talking about having access to beaches, as you were saying, Dr. Taylor, that we need access when you come off of the plane and you see these resorts and these. You can't access those beaches. You cannot. And so that is a huge problem. They mentioned greater access to public beaches. That is not the only issue. That is not the only issue. And so the floor is yours. So talk to us about that, because they make it seem as if then it's, but you're saying, no, it's all beaches we want access to. All beaches. So if I'm wrong, here's a chance to correct me, sir.
No, you're absolutely correct. And so, you know, we've been doing this consciousness building over the last 3 years with our Jamaican family. You know, it's like you're taking something that, you know, people cannot believe, right? That is happening, to say, no, it is really happening, right? That a law exists in your country that tells you you have no right. Not that it tells you you have no right. It actually, it really is executing that displacement and that disempowerment on a daily basis in our lives. It's happening. It's real. Go to coastal communities and ask them, right? Can they? Can you walk across the road and access this beach? No, you can't. Yes, everyone that comes off a plane in Montego Bay, right, cannot just walk onto any of those beaches there. In fact, I mean, and I know you'll give the opportunity to really show an example of what is happening in Montego Bay, right? A parish that we have measured the coastline from Iberia Star to the port. We've measured that coastline to be, I think, 14 miles of coastline. And after 14 miles of coastline there, right, is only, I think, 4,100 feet of free public access that the entire parish of St. James have. It's reality on the ground. And I don't know if my slides is projecting to your audience, but I put a slide up there because I want to contextualize what Dr. Wallace pointed out on that program, that they were.
Do you want me to add it now? You want me to add the?
Yeah, go ahead and add that slide.
There
right?
it is.
So when he spoke about what the government is doing, now the moderator points out the law very clearly that Section 4 says we have no right of accessing the foreshore. No one have any right in or over the foreshore or the floor of the sea. No right. The no right translates into, and it was written and published in the Beach Access Management Policy. It's published in the newspaper, when he mentioned Dr. Caroline Cooper and her work that she has written several columns about this. All right, this issue has been fought by, Kaboom Mahad Karu, Esther Figueroa, Diana McCullough, John Maxwell. There are many giants whose shoulder JaBBEM is standing on now, who have advocated for this issue for a very, very long time, right? And the law basically said we have no right. And it was Peter Knight who responded to say that the right is no right to fish, no right to walk along the foreshore, no right to bathe, no right to swim. That is written in a Jamaican law. And so when they talk about, and the Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness says, we should have a right, or we should be able to access our beaches. The confusion around access and rights, right, needs to be very clearly, explained to the Jamaican people. That access and rights, they are two different things. We don't have any right, and fundamentally, the legislation needs to be changed to a rights-based approach to allow for access. Right? You can't have any access without you having rights. And because we have no rights, that is one of the reasons we have no access. And so when they said they're going to develop beaches, they proposed these 10 beaches. 10 beaches, they said they're going to develop, quote unquote. The 10 beaches, of course, is not going to increase no more access because we're all using those 10 beaches already. But I want to tell the Jamaican people, since the Prime Minister made that statement, who is the head of the Beach Control Act of Jamaica that can make this a reality for every Jamaican, right? And I would like to say to him that, yes, Dr. Andrew Holness, you have the power to make sure that every Jamaicans have a right to access their beaches. You can do so because you, through your, appointed Mata Samuda, both sit at the table and at the apex of beach access rights in Jamaica. And both of you have intentionally been denying the Jamaican people because the power is sitting in your hand, because you are the head of the Beach Control Act of 1956. That empowers you to do so. You said you're going to, develop these 10 beaches across the country. They have not done so at all. There's no new bathroom, no Wi-Fi, no parking area, no restaurants, nothing that they came out that said they're going to be done. It's done to Fantas's Beach in Priory. It's not done to Watson Taylor Park. It's not done to Success. It's not done to Ryan Novo, Murdoch, Rocky Point. Winifred is beautifully run. You should stay away from Winifred government. Leave Winifred to the people of Portland. They're doing an awesome job. Big respect to the Winifred Benevolent Society. Guts River, Cane River, and Alligator Pond. Nothing that they said that they were going to do in terms of new bathroom facilities, parking areas, any kind of other economic thing to the space, not been done. So here they are coming on national TV saying that they're going to be doing this. None of it was done. None of it at all. And the legislation that they said that was tabled in Parliament is actually not tabled in Parliament. It's been handed over to the cabinet members who are members of the Jamaica Labour Party. Parliament is the entire government. That means sitting member of the PNP would also have access to this legislation, this proposed bill, and they don't have access to it because we have inquired. We have actually asked the librarian of the Parliament about getting a copy of what was proposed, and they don't have it. They don't have a copy of it. So the proposal that they're saying that they're advancing to give Jamaicans more rights, right, is not there. It's not there. So there has been no increase in beach access, right, in Jamaica because there's been no change to the legislation. And so we are asking for the repeal and the replacement. Bunny up, rip it up, dash away, fling it away. See consensus with the Jamaican people and write a new piece of legislation. And I will go further. We don't need to have no discussion with no hotel about the rights of the Jamaican people, because I've heard that argument being proposed that they're going to sit down and have a conversation with hotels about, beach access, and access right. We don't need that. We do not need it. Government have tremendous amount of power to make laws. Lawmaker should not compromise their independence and who elect them, right, and act on behalf of the people. No negotiation is required with any private landowner. We now go, as my sister said, be licky to know, landowners to do what is right by the Jamaican people. We must act, okay? We must act and repeal and replace. So we are where we are right now, that if the government is moving forward with 13 beaches or 10 beaches, for what? A population of 2.7 million people, and then all others who are in the diaspora who travel to Jamaica, in millions, every year. Where are they going to go? We need a just, legislation that afford us, equal rights and justice at the foreshore. And I want to say that we are beyond access. Right, we have, in the Jamaica Beach Birthright Environmental Movement, JaBBEM, we have met as a community, and we have had a one-day retreat, and we have come up with a vision of the coastline. We are ironing out many parts of it, but the repeal and the replacement, is something that we have all agreed upon. The rezoning of the coastline, we have agreed upon that, and when we say we are beyond access, it means that Jamaicans don't just want to go dip them to NIC, They see it as a bigger significance to Jamaicans, right? As part of our cultural heritage. It has a big, tremendous economic value to the country. And within itself, the environment of value to itself, because nature needs to repair renew its cycles, The biodiversity there need to survive. The coastal forests are important for our survival. So nature has a right to. So in any discussion around coastline must be one that is environmental and conservation driven. It must be also rooted in the cultural ways as to how Jamaica has used this space. So you cannot be, giving away the resource of the land for an industry to make $4.3 billion every year, repatriate $3 billion of that outside of the country. It never come there in the first place. Degrade the space, take out the coastal forests, them destroy the mangrove, degrade the beaches, them run away with all of the money and left we with all of the spoiled environment left behind. We cannot afford that anymore. We can't.
All right, Doc. I'm just looking. I'm going to bring Jeffrey Tavares in now, but I'm looking at the document on the screen, and it says, for those of you who cannot see it, it says the government of Jamaica National Beach Access Plan, and it says the Ministry of Tourism is building or upgrading, I think they say, upgrading your upgrading 10 beaches for approximately 3 million Jamaicans. 10 beaches. How many beaches do we have in Jamaica, by your estimate?
Well, this is how I want to look at it quantitative, Ratigan. It's 494 miles around the country, right? And there are 150 miles that is considered sandy, right? So and we have to kind of just look at beaches as the beach is a contiguous network around the country, right? The idea of naming this beach that it's necessary, to descriptively direct someone there, but environmentally, that's not how ecosystem thrive and work. They're interconnected.
That you want access to the space.
We need access to the space, my brother. The government listed around 66 or somewhere in that region, around 66, 86 beaches that have names around the country. All right. I mean, but when you really look at it, if I count, there are just hundreds of hotels and villas around the country that sits before beaches. So what are those? What are we going to call them? We call them Rio Beach, Sandal Beach, Iberia Star Beach, Moon Palace Beach, Cornwall Hotel Beach, the Macron Beach, or we call them Ayat Beach, Rosal Beach, Half Moon Beach. I mean, we're going to call all these hotel beaches because the hotel industry have undergone more than 1,000% increase. Right? The entire community of Miami Bay is locked off. Old Fort Bay is locked off. Millionaire Row locked off. You go into Montego Bay, see all those cove locked off. Golden Eye locked off. You're going now, they're trying to lock off Sanko Bay, lock off Blue Lagoon. They're buying out all the property in Long Bay. I mean, the thing is just madness that is happening around the country. And the reason why it can happen is because of legislation that allows these people to fence up the beach. And I would like to say and ask your audience, where else in the world that somebody can not own a piece of real estate, own a piece of land, or own the water, but they are able to fence it? Because what the government allowed these people to do, and we understand property rights and its constitutional implications, but the government has allowed you to fence the land that really encompasses the beach and lock you out the beach. So you're fencing in a place that you don't own, because the law was clear to say that the beach and the foreshore is vested in the crown, right? That the crown controls it and the sea. Now, we know international law that you can't own the sea, but the hotelier fencing in the sea and you can't reach there. We know they don't own the foreshore, but they're allowed to fence it in and lock you out. So where else in the world that you not own sitting, but you can fence it up and lock everybody out? Me not understand that thinking. Me not understand how that happen.
All right. Let me just bring in Mr. Jeffrey Tavares. You want me to move this thing, or you want to refer to it still?
You could move it. I'm gonna bring something else, but
all right, Mr. Jeffrey Tavares, you hail from one of the garden spots in Jamaica, Negril, and it's world famous for the 7 Mile stretch of beach and other geographical locations in that area. You've heard the argument made by Dr. Taylor, and you've heard the opposition by other people with an association to the government. What is your take as a person who hails from that particular place?
Let me say this. Before I go any further, let me make this absolutely clear. I am speaking from Jeffrey Tavares and Jeffrey Tavares only. I grew up in Negril. And the gentleman who was speaking with Dr. Devon Taylor on CVM, I know him very well. We grew up together in Negril, one on the 7 Mile beach in Negril. His family is from West End. He used to have property on the beach and so forth. But when we sit down and listen to what is going on, and I make it clear already, any day that I go back to Negril and I decide to walk the 7 Mile beach in Negril, and I want to see any security guard or anybody want to stop me from walking the 7 Mile beach that I grew up in. You see? I remember the days when we used to pick cocoa plum and sea grapes. Walk all the way from Negril, from downtown Negril, straight up to Hedonism 2. And I also remember the days when a certain hotel decided to put a wire fence to the first row that you can't walk if you walk around it. You can't get to walk around it either. Dr. Taylor, you have some people who, because they're part of a political elite, you know, and they don't want their Bucky master to look bad, they come and spill that are nonsense to the people of this country, you know. And what you're doing, sir, you are speaking on behalf of the Jamaican people. I listened to Mr. Wallace and the host of that program, Mr. George Davis. And I heard when George Davis said that he have been to beaches all around the Caribbean. And what is going on in Jamaica, people vending and so forth, it shouldn't be going on. Let me tell you something. Those people remember the hippie days in Negril, you know. Dr. Taylor, they don't remember the hippie days in Negril. Hippie came to Negril. And what attracted the hippies to Negril was people on the beach selling, craft vendors selling their cakes, selling their this and selling their that. And of course, the well-known marijuana, the herb. When hippies came to Negril, they came with their tents and they stayed in people's yards and go up into the mountains of Orange Hill and Mount Airy to get a slip of the ganja. Some people remember those days when people from Negril came out of their houses to give the hippies or allow the hippies to stay in their yards. And to see that Negril people and other people around this country cannot walk the 7 Mile beach. It's a damn shame. And for people to come out and spewing some lies before they defend the Jamaican people, all in the name of politics. It needs to stop. And we must, the Jamaican people must rally around at JaBBEM and Dr. Taylor. And we must send a clear message to this Prime Minister and future Prime Ministers that they must do something about this. It is our beach. You know many times people feel frustrated and go on the 7 Mile beach in Negril, sit on the sun and the water come in, and the sea breeze blowing in your face. It calms you down. Your situation may not go away, but of course you feel a little better. So when you hear people talking about these things, and of course, it's very selective hotels in Negril that have the little part where you can walk from the property down to the beach. Some of them don't.
Yeah. And you're correct about that, because one of the, he's touting Negril as if, to say that, look at that model. But you're very correct that the easement that people used to use, I remember, I used to go to Negril a lot, when I was in college, right? And, there were easement there that you could walk down. You can't walk down many of those easements anymore. They're all gone, all right? And there are still some tracks to enter onto the beach, but the beach is heavily militarized. There are, patrol riding on bikes on that beach, right? And you can't go with your family of 5, spread your towel out and put down, you're having, a picnic. You can't go there. If you go there with a group of 10 people, said, okay, before one of those establishments and spread out on the beach, you can't do it, because, one of the things that we must realize, the dry sand, most of the dry sand in Jamaica is actually part of people's property. So the wet sand era, you're telling me that I'm confined to that. So if I go there with my kids and my little, basket to go eat a food or whatever, you can't really spread out and sit there. You've been asked to move, right? If you walk on that beach and you try, yes, to sell something on the beach, police coming at you. So the hotel, and this is one of the other component of the Beach Control Act that we need to really make sure that Jamaican people understand that the act allow the National Environmental Planning Agency to issue beach license. And a beach license give a hotel, a villa, a guest house, right? The right to carry out commercial activity on the foreshore. So they put their beach beds and their towels and their, gazebos and all their umbrellas there. The beach license facilitate that. And that takes precedence over any right that you may think you have to traverse the foreshore. And, that is how beach license really continue part of the displacement. And I want you to understand, and I want the Jamaican people to understand, right? And I know you guys are being called by many people telling you all kinds of things, but I want you to hear this. There are 366 beach license issued in Jamaica right now. 366 beach license. So when he talks about many access to beach and many beaches we have to use around Jamaica. Right now, NEPA has 366, and they have more because this, you get these things through access to information, right? They have more of these licenses. What does those 366 license does? It has stipulated conditions as to what the hotel can do in the space. But one of the things, they have the right to commercially operate these spaces. And you either have to pay to use them, pay to be at the hotel, okay, and you can be displaced. But, these are tools of the Beach Control Act, right? No right, in or over the foreshore. Right by the government to issue license for use of the foreshore. And all these instruments are within that legislation that infringes upon your birthright. So we're claiming birthright here as the ultimate right of the Jamaican people as a result of your ancestors who were enslaved on that island, fighting for your right, won the war, won the rebellion war, okay, gained the land, gained the independence, and as a result, your birthright is wedged into the struggle against chattel slavery, right? And now you lost that right because a legislation that the colonial master that our ancestors defeated, put this legislation in place and give the power to the government of the country to wield it. And the government is wielding that since 1956, not in favor.
Well, let me just take let me interrupt you just to say this, Dr. Taylor, that I'll repeat that Kerry Wallace, the gentleman who represented the government's position, that there is confirmation from certain sectors of the population saying that his family business that owns beachfront hotels in Negril. It may be a hotel, I say hotels, not sure if it's one or many, including the Boardwalk Village located at 7 Mile Beach. And also that the public have to buy a day pass for $100 US to $200 US, or to dine in the hotel's restaurant, not sure which hotel, to get access to the beach. And people can walk along the 7 Mile Beach, but I'm being told that they cannot congregate around the hotel's sand area.
Yes.
This is
Absolutely. I mean, I've been there recently.
Well,
you can't come out there and chill out.
All of the people I'm out at the front, the live studio audience, I am coming out there now to greet all I want to. And I'm coming out there with the lovely TT, and we're going to walk around and show the facility. And Jeffrey Tavares, the man from Negril, the man who no fear nobody, he's going to be here to continue with Dr. Devon Taylor. And I'm going to go out there and shake hands, press the flesh, hug people, kiss people. You know how I think that. And then I'm going to come back Because don't forget, people, we have the rural bus initiative, and we're going to expose the people involved with that. We're going to show you how you can get a free bus in America. And we have a man who got a free bus, and we're going to tell you what he plans to do with it. And we're going to tell you what our initiative as a diaspora is to help the people of Jamaica and to stop people from chopping money that is earmarked for the poorest of the poor in Jamaica. So here comes Jeffrey Tavares. People out at the front, I'm on my way without delay. Dr. Devon Taylor, I'm coming back. You're not going anywhere until I get back here, sir. All right. Come in, Jeffrey.
Give thanks. Yeah, man. I mean, so you know, the information that you are sharing, Jeffrey, and that, you know, Rattigan is getting about, you know, operation on the Negril 7 Mile Beach is not the model that, you know, the government is saying, you know, it is the perfect model, you know, around the coastline. It is not. It is not. You know, I mean, when you describe, you know, your childhood days, you know, a freedom of movement along the Negril Beach. Yes, it was.
I want to cut you there, Dr. Taylor. You mentioned something about our childhood days, my childhood days in Negril. And I don't normally tell people where I'm from, but this is a topic that is dear to my heart. I remember when all of us, I'm looking at the group of us now. At that time, Negril was Negril. We used to have beach party every single Sunday on the 7 Mile Beach in Negril. Before they sell out it to all those people of the affluent society who may come all over the place and buy beachfront land to put up hotels. We used to have, we start from Negril Square with the bike, you know, and the girls in the back of the bike with them bath suit on the 7 Mile Beach, going all the way up. I want to go up there. My uncle is either cooking or somebody is cooking. We enjoy ourselves every single Sunday. No, that can't happen again.
Right about that.
And the fact of the matter is, when you look on the Negril Community Center, is a damn disgrace. Negril, who has developed tourism in this country, successive government neglect Negril, and the people of Negril who build Negril to where Negril is. And you have some people who have hotels on the 7 and the western strip of Negril. Don't remember that is the poorer class of Negrilians who have hotels on the western strip. Welcome them. Allow them to have what they have now. For them to be going all over the place and chatting nonsense. It hurt me. It hurt me to see where my beloved community have become. Some people cannot walk the 7 Mile Beach. But let me make this clear. I want to see which man, which hotelier, which sandals, which swept away, which hedonism, which grand leader gonna stop this boy from walking the 7 Mile Beach in Negril when me born and grow. My neighbor string plant, they don't come there by aeroplane. I came to Negril by labor pain. And I want to see who's gonna stop me from walking the 7 Mile Beach in Negril. I said this to Unfettered Rattigan a couple months ago, you know. I said what we need to do is to gather up some money and put it on a billboard in Times Square that the Negril people don't have access to their beaches. That Negril people have access to running water. Because of the people who believe that they're ahead of us. And they come on ears and they spew pure lies and propaganda. Many people cannot walk the 7 Mile Beach in Negril. Many Negrilians who born and grow in Negril cannot walk the 7 Mile Beach in Negril. And I dare nobody come and tell me so nothing no go so. So what you're saying, Dr. Taylor, is the truth. And the people must stand up. The people now must stand up and demand that we will not stand by anymore and allow those who believe that they're governing us to serve some walk over 7 Mile beaches, whether it be Negril or wherever. The Jamaican people must have access to the beaches. And it's full time to stop selling out this country to those people who don't mean Negril or Jamaica any good. Dr. Taylor can go on, but it's your continuous, you're a guest.
No, I mean, no, listen, both of us are from coastal communities, who have, really experiencing the same kinds of, violence, because, this kind of dispossession, it is, state violence against its people. Because when you have individuals who have a connection to the coastal spaces for generations and generations, and then, you just get up one day, all right, and you lose it. It was very abrupt in Steertown, right? Or we lose access to Mammy Bay Beach. It never really take, the whole thing never really just happened over a matter of months. It happened over, 2 days, right? Wire fence drawn and big concrete thing go up, right? And state come out with police and soldiers and all politicians out there, I tell people, say, boy, none of them own the land. Right? I mean, in your own land, you get the kind of story there from politicians, right? Just a beach where fishermen are used, before my ban. So it's a problem.
Something, Dr. Taylor? You touch on something about fishermen. All of those remember the history of Negril. The little fishing village. The little fishing village. Negril was a tight-knit community of Negrilians who welcome everybody. It was called the Little Fishing Village. Back in the days, I remember a good friend of mine. We grew up together. Her parents own a scuba diving place on the 7 Mile Beach in Negril. Dr. Karen Guernier. Dr. Guernier and I used to put on Christmas Street in Negril. Right in the Negril Community Center or the Negril Roundabout. And I remember one time she came and said to me, Jeffrey, we need to do something, And I said to her, do what? She said to me, so we need to write an article about Negril. And she and I sit down and we talk about it. Karen went and wrote the article. And that is why I remember, if I knew I was going to talk about it, I have the article until this blessed day. The Little Fishing Village of Negril. It was in the Western Mirror back in the days. It's not now the people of Jamaica is suffering from accessing their beaches. It's not now people who born and grow. I tell you something, A cousin of mine was standing on the beach that we own. And police come here and tell us you have to move. As a matter of fact, my brother, he's not living up here. My brother, police came to lock him up from off his own family beach. His own family beach. That's to show you what is going on in Negril and other places of Jamaica. And none of these politicians will not come and speak for the Jamaican people, because you know why? They're getting kickback. Who now get hotel room when hotel finish? Get money in a pocket. And who now get high-rise presidential suite from Spanish investors? We know about it. And that is why you will not speak for the hotelier, you will not speak for the people who are working in hotels, or the beaches, the people who want to walk the beaches in Negril. Dr. Taylor, take over from me also, because honestly, this is getting to me.
No, I really want you're talking about corruption that the Beach Control Act of 1956 allows, right? Because when you have, governance is a thing that we have to really look at, and how laws really support bad governance in Jamaica. The Beach Control Act is just a bad piece of legislation, right? And by this where it is structured and how it empowers the minister, because it allows the minister to wield power, right? Lots of power. The minister can grant license for any beach at all, and his decision cannot be questioned in the court of law, right? The law clearly states that. It also allows the minister to take any piece of land and create any beach that they want to do so, right? These are the things that the law does, right? The law allows the minister also, if even beach space, is known to be a prohibited area because of its ecological sensitivity, it empowers the minister to also allow for development in that space. So the law is just a bad piece of legislation. And so when you have a bad legislation in place, it just makes governance corrupt around the space, right? Because if you can issue a license to anyone and no one cannot question you about that, even decommissioning of beaches in Jamaica. We have episode, and this is the reality now in Miami Bay, which, the beach has a designation, MMM, that was given to it since 1976. It was assigned that as a public fishing and bathing beach. It is gazetted to be so. It appears on fisheries list and it appears on NEPA list. But at the same time, the alleged landowners came in and displaced the community from the space. And that, is because of this Beach Control Act allows now the minister to decommission that space and do whatever they want to do, right? So the law is bad and the governance around the law is bad and breeds corruption. The other thing that is breeding corruption there, and I don't know if you could give me sharing access there, because I have up on the chart right on the screen right here, the revenue generated by leisure and business tourism in Jamaica from 2015 to 2024, and you can appreciate this is in billions of US dollars. What's been happening in the tourism industry? That anywhere you have whole heap of money at play, it sets up the opportunity for a lot of corruption. So the argument is that, yes, tourism represents around 35% of the GDP of the country, about 50% of foreign exchange earnings, and about 25% of the jobs, fall in that category, right? So just kind of let's look at all of these numbers here, and we see from 2015, the revenue in tourism is increasing. So if you have a political class, which, there is this perception of corruption that sits in the space, and we have seen it because we have seen scandals after scandals after scandals, in the country, and we have seen a lot of them related to real estate. All right, and a lot of this dollars is being generated by coastal real estate that adjoins the foreshore, and this kind of money and make in that space. If you don't have strong legislation, lots of oversight, community involvement and engagement, just for transparency in this space, then it further breeds a lot of corruption. So I am, have no doubt that a lot of what's happening in tourism in Jamaica, there's corruption in there because there's a whole lot of money to be made, and it suits a lot of people to keep this there and to make sure the monopoly that tourism have on the country stays there. There is no incentive for a diversification of the Jamaican economy into high, income jobs, into a future where we see technological build out in agriculture, in technology, in other areas that are very important. Even the sea that we're looking at right there is massive in terms of, the blue economy. Fishing industry can rival these numbers if done correctly. The mariculture industry can do so, and they can rival this kind of tourism, and they are not as, as extractive as the tourism is. Neither do they transfer the sovereignty of the country. All right. away, from the people by all of these lands. So yes, the money is a lot of money in other space, and the money is tied to corruption. So we have to really pay attention to it. So I mean, it's something that we are spotlighting as why this is really happening, because we can break down the distribution of tourism profit in Jamaica in 2024. We can break it down. We can break it down for the audience. You see, of the $4.3 billion that left, if you look at that red bar there, that is representing the private and foreign entities' profit. That's over 70% of that profit that never touched the island at all. And my Jamaican people, this is being made off your coastal, your resources. It's made off your beach and your beach lands. That money don't touch the island. And the little peeny bit that community get, which is less than 10%, and the government in terms of their taxes, the top the government get off of taxes in this business is 20%. And we have maxed out the calculation to say this is the most they can get. And we max out that for community because community ranges between 5 to 10%. And we know they're not getting 10%. And the government is between 10 and 20%. And we know they're not getting 20%. But we said, take it. 20% government, 10% community, 70%, for these foreign entity. So we are not anti-tourism and we're not anti-development. We are fully aware that many Jamaicans, right, benefit from some aspects of this industry. We fully understand that, as bartenders and, lifeguards and, concierge and, you work in as a cook, your security. We understand all these kind of connection, right? But at the same time, what the plantation tourism is doing in terms of the labor force violation that we think is happening in that space. And I want to give a shout out to the National Hospitality Union, Jamaica's Michael Downer and his team, who are providing now. They have built out a union to try to unionize hospitality workers, to make sure that they're not being violated, because a lot of violation is happening in this tourism industry that we need to correct. We need to correct it.
Dr. Taylor, let me ask you this question here, Dr. Taylor. And somebody put it in the chat room. That what happened to the court case in Portland?
That court case is ongoing, right? Yes. So that's the Blue Lagoon court case is ongoing. We go back to court in September. In September, we go back, and just to put it into perspective, for the larger audience, 3 years ago, the community, and the public, was displaced from using the Blue Lagoon and its associated beach, because they said there were, all kinds of, vending and illegal activities happening in the space. It wasn't safe. There was not good sanitary facility there. In fact, there was none. And they were going to, clear the space, put all those amenities in, and reopen to the public. So, it went on for a very extended time. And there is a component of customary rights. If customary rights is disrupted for a year or more, and you acquiesce your right, you didn't express any interest, you didn't protest, you didn't make noise, you did it kind of not the system, then you would have lost that right. And we spot that was coming on. So we collaborated with Portland Environmental Action, Blue Lagoon Alliance, members in and around Portland, to bring the matter to the court to say, no, the customary pathway, which is a public parochial road, had a security guard there that prevented the public from accessing the Blue Lagoon over the customary path. And if that broken, the country and the people of Jamaica would have lost their right to the Blue Lagoon. So it brought the case into the courts. All right. And it's still ongoing. They tried to destroy the case, but they were not successful. All right. And we had a reset and we're back there. And so we are still fighting for the prescriptive rights to the Blue Lagoon and to the fishing beach and the bathing beach that is associated. So I think it's September 24th, we go back into the Portland Parish Court to press the case for prescriptive rights of access to the Blue Lagoon.
For those who are just joining us, we're coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. We have Dr. Devon Taylor of JaBBEM, who is speaking to us about the beach access that Jamaicans don't have in Jamaica. I'm sitting in here for Mr. Rattigan for a couple of minutes. We also have the man himself, Kevin Stew. I can't do it like Ratty, so but Kevin, you have a question for Dr. Taylor related to beach access. You're from Jamaica. Talk to us.
Yeah, I haven't been there in a minute though. Devon, welcome back again.
Thanks.
We have been addressing this issue of beach access for a while, and what you have brought to many of our attention, especially mine, is that this is something that I guess has been going down a slippery slope since 1956 with the Beach Control Act. Over what period of time would you say that Jamaicans were restricted the most to get to the point where we are now?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's pretty difficult to really answer in quantifying which window we have the greatest loss of access as a result of lack of rights. I would say, understanding, the Beach Control Act of 56, there was a lot of complaining happening early in 1954 by fishermen, right, and beachgoers that they were losing access to the beaches, right, and something needed to be done. Now, they said that this Beach Control Act was written in response to give the government regulatory power, right, over the foreshore, so it can really serve the needs of the people. But you have to understand, in the context of colonial hierarchy and how these things are ordered, that was just moving control. Government control does not translate into empowerment of people. That just don't happen. We've never seen that in our time. All right. I would say, you see, during the 80s, when you have they set up this entity called the Recreation Development Corporation, that they start the divestment of all the beaches. So before, you used to have a lot of, local government in charge of beach safety, beach cleanliness and all that kind of stuff. But in the 80s, they start to really divest the beaches them, and so they roll up most of the beaches that the municipal entities own into a company called Recreation Development Corporation, and that was structured to divest the beaches off to all kinds of entity who want them, right? And that started to happen there. So if I was accurate in pinpointing a window, it started in the 80s with the divestment strategy of bundling beaches and also transferring beaches and link them to different tourism product. So you have TPDCO and TEF, right? Tourism Enhancement Fund and TPDCO were created also as entity to support a tourism industry, and beaches were also transferred to the Ministry of Tourism. So it's almost like with divestment comes a neoliberal order, which seems that it is about empowerment of people, but it's not really. It's an empowerment of business and a preservation of colonialism and also an extension of capitalism. And all of that started to take root in the country in the 80s and manifest itself into what we're living right now, where the beaches now, get tied to tourism and a big push towards the kind of tourism model that we are experiencing in Jamaica now, which I call a plantation tourism model that is happening. So that's the window where it all start to go downhill.
Okay, so as we are becoming more aware of what has happened and how we've gotten to this place, how then do we actively go about fixing it?
Yeah. And, these are the spaces in which we are moving the direction and the conversation to. How do we fix these issues, right? So I think we have to start with legislation, right?
Okay.
The one that is in place that gave us no right needs to change. So, you can't amend the Beach Control Act of 1956, right? The spirit of that law is, it's anti-rights, right? It's not democratic, okay? It's not empowering people, all right? And it's not environmental in nature. So it violates environmental laws, right? It just allows, the minister to grant, development in ecologically sensitive prohibited areas. It requires no consensus. It's just not. So the nature of that law is authoritarian, okay? So you can't amend it. You have to repeal it and replace it. I think that is the first step. In doing so, we have a framework that we think, we can work with. It requires rezoning the coast. Rezoning is done all the while across the world, across, geographics, in many areas. All right. Just as they were proposing to create a new parish, requires rezoning. Development orders does this all the while. Areas that are designated for agricultural purposes, areas for evil parties.
Residential.
About zones, about noise abatement act. That you can't do certain things in certain spaces. So we're saying that you're going to rezone the coastline. And we have ideas around what those zones could look like, because we're not starting from scratch. Other jurisdictions have done these kind of things. This has been done in different Caribbean islands. This is done in Mexico. Costa Rica have zones along their coast, and we are saying that there is a zone, right, that is, let's say, 50 meters above the high water mark, that we can totally designate that as just public land, right? And that will carry, the fundamental rights that Jamaicans deserve, right? Not rights, that is qualified rights. It is general and unfettered. You can go there anytime you want to go there, okay? We're asking for rezoning. We're asking for a zone that also extend 100 meters out into the sea. And that is very necessary, because something that we have not really talked about today is appropriation of the sea. Right? Taking away of the sea. And Kevin, if you could project the slide that I have on the screen, I want to use this as an opportunity to expose your audience to what is happening in Jamaica right now. Okay? Just take a look at that. Let's take a look at it for a second. What you're seeing there are the building, the construction of hotel rooms in the sea. All right, Sanders Royal Caribbean, Sanders White House, Princess Senses the Mangrove. What that means is that you and I cannot go back to these spaces. That's done, gone. Now, if the sea is a common heritage of mankind, right, and this is within what we call the Jamaicans economic zone. 12 I think or 14 miles, from the high water mark is territorial space that Jamaica have full jurisdiction over, according to United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. So we can do what we want in this space but the government is transferring water, right, to hotels to now build rooms in the sea. And this is they're taking away the sea too. So a proliferation of this model across the country means not only that we're losing coastline, but we're losing the sea. So a fisherman who used to push out from this space can't do it anymore, right? Also, the mangroves that are associated with many of these spaces are damaged. And the purpose that they serve as breeding ground and really helping purification, oxygenation, all of that is being happening. Being compromised. And so this is part of what's happening now, along the coastline. And I want the public to understand that no regulation exists in Jamaica for the building of overwater structures. Only a guideline, and a guideline is something that you cannot enforce in law. So when laws are broken as to destruction of the ecology, right, you can no longer really, you can't prosecute them people because what you're going to prosecute them with is just a guideline. It was what it is a guide. So when we talk about rezoning the coastline and we rezone out to 100 meters out into the sea, we're saying that remains for the public to have rights to it, to use it, not just one group of people, but all people. And there's many things. We can make many cases for this, right? People are baptizing in these spaces, right? The fishermen then push out from it. This is where your recreation happen. Your spiritual, baptism, you swim out, you exercise, okay? You all know the story of how, black bodies washed up on the shore from the transatlantic slavery to go there and pay homage to, our ancestors, your ancestral rights around libation. You're losing your cultural connection because of now this new dimension to tourism in Jamaica. Is appropriation of the sea to build overwater bungalow. And almost, many of these hotels now, right, are going to be doing this. The big 30 story or whatever one, Moon Palace that is proposing in Jamaica now is going to be building overwater bungalow. So my brother, you have to rezone the coastline to really fix the problem.
Is there any way for the two to coexist, the profitability of tourism maximizing use of the coastline and the rights of the Jamaican people?
There can be coexistence, absolutely. We have seen it in many spaces across the planet. Big, tourism mecca like
you had
Thailand.
cut out for a moment. Sorry, Devon. I didn't hear what you said at the beginning. You had cut out for a second there.
Oh, okay. No, I'm saying that absolutely there can be coexistence in the space. All right. We have seen that happen across the Caribbean, right? We have, big, if we want to take a, big tourism mecca like Thailand, countries like those, you can't own the beaches out there, but, hotels are built on lands that are close to the beaches. Is the same thing, in places like Mexico and Costa Rica, Barbados and St. Kitts, Nevis, St. Lucia, they all, but people use the beach. So you can't transfer that right, to the hotel. The hotel is built on the land and you draw your wire fence on the land. And then, 50 meters above the watermark is considered public, and public have the right to traverse that space. It is not going to impact your tourism revenue. That's one of the biggest lie that has been told, that this model of tourism, works in Jamaica and bring maximum revenue to Jamaica because we offer them exclusivity to the space. It's not true. They will not run away. New legislation passed tomorrow to says that 50 meters above the high water mark is public land accessible by the entire Jamaican, public, including your guests, will not chase them away. They will have to adjust to that reality. But we're seeing the model across the world, and it does not translate into less revenue or, foreign tourists don't want to mingle with Jamaican people. We cannot do that. And the model that they're saying they're creating these 10 beaches for 3 million people, that is different from the hotel beaches, is segregation, which is illegal under Jamaican law and illegal under international law. You can't have beaches for white and beaches for black. That is not consistent, you know what I mean, with the constitution of the country and where the world is right now. No tourist will tell you that now come to Jamaica because black people up on the beaches them down there. Not going to happen. So the coastline must be rezoned. And we further want actually 50 meters that is above, right, what we'd call public land to be a lease-only zone. I think we have to go there because of the limited amount of land that exists around the country, right? That this must be a space that you can only lease, and so we can perpetually make, you know, an economic return on coastal land, because it's very, you know, it's a very pricey piece of real estate. It also presents some security and sovereignty implications that I think we need to flush out as a nation. And so I'd like to open up a debate that we rezone the coastline into 3 different zones. This is something that, you know, internally in JaBBEM we've been talking about, and, you know, we have some ideas how it can be done. And it will not carry what the government fear about constitutional challenge by these private landowners, because they raised that concern in the United Nations when we brought the argument forward to do this, that they're going to be constitutional challenge by property owner that adjoins the foreshore. The government have enough tools in its arsenal to really mitigate that.
Let me ask you this question, Dr. Taylor. This beach access saga has been going on in Jamaica for many years, way before me I even born. And neither the People's National Party or the Jamaica Labour Party see it fit. The Prime Minister of the country has the ability, with the stroke of a pen, to change this legislation going on with the beach access. My question to you right now, people keep on saying this one government at a time. This happened between PNP and JLP and JLP and PNP. My question to you right now, in all that you're doing and in all that we're fighting to access our beaches, have you approached the opposition People's National Party with this? And when they gain state power, do you believe, Dr. Taylor, that Mr. Golding and his administration, with a stroke of a pen, will do something to change the beach access act in Jamaica for Jamaicans to access the beach freely, sir?
You know, I mean, Jeffrey, we're in a political you know, cycle of elections right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And so there's a lot of chatter around the issue that we are here discussing. I think you put it into context that the legislation has been on the books for now close to 69 years, and we have seen almost shared number of years in governance of the country by both political parties, and none of them changed the legislation to benefit the country, you know, benefit the people, I should say, right? In terms of economic, also in terms of environmental management, we have not seen that happen. So if I was supposed to use history, right, to really kind of judge what would happen in the future, I would give both political parties a failing grade, right? And so I would not hang my hat, right, on a projection. But let us dissect what has happened since the formation of the Jamaica Beach Birthright Environmental Movement, JaBBEM, over the last 3 years. And we have brought this conversation, you know, to the forefront. You know, I have to give credit, right, to Dr. Carlin Cooper, you know, to Kabu Mahad Karu, Esther Figueroa, Nina McCullough, John Maxwell, and many of the stalwarts who have fought for beach access rights across Jamaica over many years. And it's not lack of bringing the issue to the Jamaican people, right? That, you know, why this has not changed. It's not the lack of knowing that there's a problem, you know, by the political class. Why have they not act is the question that we are asking ourselves. Why? And we've kind of point out, some of the reasons that we think are embedded in corruption, all right, in terms of the state controlling these kind of things and are able to use it and to wield it, all right, for economic gains. It may be personal, it may be also, going to their friends, right? So what we have seen though, we're in terms of JaBBEM and JaBBEM engagement, with the partisan political class, is that one of the first act we did is that there was an opportunity to raise the issue at the United Nations, and we did so. And we did so, with the Andrew Holness-led government, Dr. Andrew Holness-led government that was presenting, Jamaicans, Jamaica, state as it relates to discrimination. So we went to the Committee for the Eradication of Racial Discrimination, saying that this legislation is discriminatory, right? Jamaicans can't really access their space, their beaches, and we're, pushed out economically. Many of our observances around cultural norms are being broken because of this, all right? And this says, okay, no, we don't think so, all right? And we reserve the right for then balancing, environmental, beach access with economics. So they refuse to change, right? What have we done subsequently? We have dragged 4 cases into the court. 3 of those cases include, parts of the government that is led by Dr. Andrew Holness, right? We're talking about Blue Lagoon, Jamaica National Heritage Trust, Portland Municipal Corporation, right? These are 2 government entities that are defendants, government agencies that we are going up against the court for now 2.5 going to 3 years. That's engagement of this government. We're talking about Little Duns River going up against the Urban Development Corporation, which is a statutory body of the government, again, part of the Andrew Holness-led administration. All right. When we talk about Bob Marley Beach, right? Again, Commissioner of Land is a defendant in the case. The Commissioner of Lands, sits in the National Land Agency. The National Land Agency sits in the office of the Prime Minister. Again, another engagement with the Andrew Holness-led JLP-led administration. So that has been what all JaBBEM has been engaging the government by saying that you're a defendant here. No, you need to come on the side of the people and open up these spaces, right? And change your legislation, because you can do that, right? As it relates now, because the government position, as was clearly outlined, by Dr. Wallace from TEF, as to what their position is. A couple of beaches, they're going to do some renovation work there, and that's what the country will have access to. It's not about affording fundamental rights. Okay, so you ask yourself the question, is this the direction that we want to move in as a people? That not only our, access rights, our environmental rights, right? Our economic rights and, protection of the foreshore that is being held hostage by the Beach Control Act, right? And by big tourism. We're not seeing a change or a shift that would empower the Jamaican people by removing this piece of legislation. So we have seen, and just let me just kind of, put the political, partisan political piece into perspective. So the PNP have came out and they're saying that, well, we're going to do something about this. We do not think this is just. We do not think this is right. We're going to, the latest article in the Gleaner, that they're going to wash away, the beach access blues. And they are going to, discuss, I guess, with the hotel industry, and the captains. Not sure what that is referring to. They have a discussion about Jamaicans' access to the foreshore. They have highlighted the problem in social media video that Jamaicans are crying out. They want more access, and that they are going to put a policy in place. They're going to have that conversation with the hotel industry to provide, access to the foreshore, and they want to do it in an harmonious way. So they're prepared to change the legislation, right, to benefit the people. Now the devil is always in the details, right? I mean, I I don't think, right, taking an approach where you're going to have a discussion, with an industry that is benefiting from our exclusion to now say, okay, you must provide inclusion of these people. Government have all the tools to do so, all right? The PNP have also clearly says if the hotel industry fail to provide these easements, then they'll move toward legislation, all right? Legislation must be enacted to give rights, because the fundamental problem is that we don't have the right. So you as government cannot discuss with the private sector to give the people rights. You must change the legislation to give the people rights. When you afford rights, you may discuss, with them that the country now have this right. So it's either we're going to appropriate land to make the easements, right? Or you're going to voluntarily write it on your land title that they have the right, because the 1882 legislation provides that it must be written on a land title, and it is strong legislation, right, when that right is written on your land title, so you cannot block people. That's one of the strengths of the legislation. Now, of course, Matsumoto came out and says, well, all new hotels will have to provide pathway to the beach, right? I want to understand. So what happened to the old one, them? We control most of the space. What are they required to do? And what is the mechanism of the new ones going to do so? Is it an act of parliament is going to legislate this? So now you're going to legislate that every beach, ever so many feet, have an easement of access, and that easement is now something that the National Land Agency, through the Commissioner of Lands, really take those lands, just as how they do when they're building a highway and the road is too small and they need property. They come and they use the Land Acquisition Act of 1947 and they take land in order to expand road, that we're going to take land in order to create rights of access to the beaches. That's what I'm telling you. The tools are there. The tools are there for the government to do anything it wants to benefit the people, right? And what we're seeing clearly, this administration is not doing so.
So let me ask you this.
Hold on, Kevin. I want to bring back Mr. Rattigan. I'm going to ask Dr. Taylor this person before I go. Dr. Taylor, do you believe, oh God, I lose my train of thoughts, but do you believe that the Jamaican people once and for all will get access to beaches that they're supposed to be walking anytime they feel like walking? You believe that if the, well, I'm not going to make it be political, but I want to bring politics in this. Do you believe, because if this has been going on from 1962, way before me and you born, and nothing has been done with the stroke of a pen by neither the PNP nor the JLP, do you believe in your heart of heart that if a Mark Golding get in, he'll be a stroke of the pen, he'll just shove it down and say, all right, I'm going to go on from beach, a phone on the beach, I'm going to take this thing far? You believe that's going to happen?
Jeffrey, what I will say is that advocacy and the power of advocacy, right, moves, the political class to act. This is why we are doing what we're doing here. If we are able to mobilize really and organize the Jamaican people to say that beach access rights, beach access legislation that benefits the people of the country is on the ballot, and it's something that will, empower the Jamaican people, and we the people want that, then the political class will act. So I think if we make the case, right, and we, can push hard, and, we have to give thanks for the opportunity to really have this space to advocate to the people, then the people can push the government to act. So I can say, yes, any government right? Whether it is the GLP or the PMP, we're seeing that, and it's a very tricky line for walk. Yeah, put me in right now, still in about what I'm saying, that what we're seeing right now in the context of the GLP-led administration is not happening. It's very clear, right? It's 3 years now we're in a court to ask for this thing and we not get it. And 3 government different agencies and we still not get it. And we're in the streets, them had protests and we still not get it. Okay? Right? So we're saying we're not getting it. So the other guy over there now says, never give it to you, right? But there are some details that we're not hearing, right? That is not as clear as it relates to, okay, we are going to repeal this law, all right, and we're going to change the legislation so it's a rights-based legislation. Rather, we we're going to have a discussion with the hotel, right? Before, we want to move harmonious on this. And if there's a failure there, then we move towards legislation. We are pushing the political class for greater clarity. And so this needs to be on the ballot. So the mobilization of the Jamaican people, I beg Jamaican in a diaspora and in a yard, put this out there, talk to your councillor them, talk to your MPs them, tell them that this is something that we need in the country. We need it because it is cultural, it is our birthright, and it also have a big economic component to it. And it's real. You only have in Montego Bay right now, and I talk to my Montego Bay people then. Harmony Cove is there as a beach, right? That, the public can have access to. All Hospital Beach are one-man beach you can have access to. And you have Dead End Space and you have Providence Beach out of flankers. You have, I'm going to talk about free spaces, where my sister or my brother who collect minimum wage want to go beach, with him 3 or 4 picnic, and him can't afford, the doctor's cave money, right? Or him can't go check in a hotel for go on beach. Him have them free beaches here, right? The government advanced that they're going to divest one-man beach or Old Hospital Beach, made it's going to come privatized. Providence Beach is up for, the taking right now. The airport authority owns the land there, and, they are in discussion now, I guess, to build the overwater bungalow off that coast, and that land will be transferred to a private developer. So Montego Bay would only have, Harmony Cove for the entire parish of St. James. It can't work, okay? So that kind of a situation that is happening in Jamaica is a reason for you to push your political class, push your MP them, ask them, where do you stand on beach access issue? You want to free up the space for us? And if them are come down in a way that then JaBBEM is going to say, vote for them. If the political party that comes out and truly present a credible, right, plan with granularity as to, what they will do in terms of rights. I've not heard that we will legislate the rights. I'm very careful about this, I'm not talking about just access, because I said before, there you can get access, you must have rights. Right now, the access is permission. So every beach you go to Jamaica is by permission. You may have to pay, right, to access it. They're public, absolutely. You can pay if you go to them hotel and you go up on the space. You pay if you go beach is a public beach, but you have to pay if you go there. Okay, we're saying that the free spaces that most of our people can't afford the money if you go, right, and locked out. We are asking you legislatively, will you change the legislation so we have rights there? So we put in beach access rights on the ballot for the Jamaican people to know, vote for who is going to represent our best interests.
Dr. Taylor, I just want to hand back over to Mr. Wilfred Radigan, right here in the Radigan program. Kevin is in the background doing his trick as usual, but here it is. Just saw Dr. Taylor, yes. Dr. Taylor is back up. Dr. Taylor, I want to say this to you, sir, that we stand behind you. And for those who want to go in the public square because they are part of the problem that this country faces and believe that they can continue lying to the people of this country, they make a sad mistake. We're going to hand back over to Mr. Wilfred Radigan right here in Reeds Radigan. We're listening, watching from around the world and the Eastern Caribbean. We're coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. We're on the road with Regent Radigan. Kevin, take it away until Mr. Radigan come over.
Thank you, sir. So, Devon, you mentioned Harmony Beach, and I wanted to ask you about that. Would you say UDC and the government, by extension, got that one right, or is it more of let me appease the people a little bit, give them this, and so that I can go ahead with whatever else I'm trying to do?
Yeah, so, you know, Harmony Cove in Montego Bay has always been accessible by the public. It was formerly called Dump Up Beach. So it's not that it's a new beach land that was opened up so people could traverse it and go to the sea, right? So what they did to that space in creating a beach park, right? You know, it's in its permanence, right, to the people, which, as I said, you know, and I have to, you know, beat this, you know, to death. The rights issue is the issue, right? You want this thing to be a right. It's a right in countries like Costa Rica and Mexico. It's a right in Barbados. It's a right in, you know, in Trinidad and St. Kitts and Nevis. You can't just walk up on a beach on a trap, brethren, right? You know, the government can divest Harmony Cove any day they want to divest. They're divesting Walter Fletcher Beach, which is just down the road from it. They put up, I said, Old Man for divestment. There's no security, right? None, as long as this legislation remain in its current formation. None whatsoever at all. So we have to move away from that. Now, what they've done in terms of the physical infrastructure on that beach, they've poured a lot of concrete, you know, in that ecological space that, you know, I mean, you know, many of us environmentalists do not see that as the right approach if you're, you know, conserving the foreshore. The foreshore requires special care. You have to recreate the environment as very close to, you know, its native form. So, you know, would have rather no concrete be poured on beaches, all right, and for them to really kind of, you know, preserve that natural ecosystem base, you know, plant the vegetation that is endemic to the space, all right, minimum kind of human intervention. This is kind of like, we have to understand nature, you know, and work with nature. Nature over millions of years has evolved in a certain way in order to make sure that cycles are renewed and it really protects itself. And by the amount of concrete that you're poured in that space, the way you construct that space environmentally, I don't think that should be the model that you you know, you proliferate across the country. It should not be the model. You don't take out coastal forests. You know, you can create a track or an easement that people can move through and get to the foreshore. And you know, it would be good. So Harmony Cove, I would not say that as a model you want to emulate across the country. I think the idea, right, of having you know, spaces along the coastline, right, you know, freely accessible by the public, you know, is one to embrace. And I got to tell you, as a sister of mine, you know, went there very early one morning and could not get on the beach because the beach opened at 9 o'clock, right? It's the same issue in the Blue Lagoon. It's open at 9 and close at 5. Now, brethren, tell me, we use beach like that at Jamaica, beach open 9 o'clock and close at 5 o'clock. I mean, really and truly, I mean, who use beach 9 to 5?
Well, all right, because with living here in South Florida, there are beaches where we have access to, and there are hours with which we can go to some of these beaches. I understand wanting or having the ability in some cases to go on the beach whenever, but if you're going to say you're giving also providing lifeguards, these individuals would have to work on a schedule. So is it that Then there's a rotation of lifeguards to maintain a 24-hour schedule to allow for 24 access to the beach. And in reality, to make an omelet, you have to break some eggs. So if we're going to make beach access available to everyone and make it safe also, there has to be some level of development. Let's say, God forbid, something happens to a beachgoer in the water. For emergency services to fully be able to provide assistance, then there needs to be some kind of access. So to get an individual who was drowning from out of the water onto the beach to the road to get into an emergency vehicle, granted that we have it available, when you minimize that distance, then you maximize survivability. So there has to be some level of development that is happening in order to make this happen.
No, I see your reasoning, but I mean, the way you have to, there's a certain cultural appropriateness as to how population evolve as to their relationship and how they use the coastline, right?
Okay.
And so I would not be seeing the use of beaches in Jamaica as to how use of beaches are in North America, right? Where, lifeguards are there. And I would say that many of these beaches will tell you when the lifeguard leave, you swim at your own risk.
At your own risk.
All right. So, that don't require a lifeguard for the 24 hours. Okay. So, you understand you got your own risk, and that's for most of the ocean across the planet Earth. Right. So, a development is not required, or that part of it is not required. We don't use beaches in that kind of 9 to 5. You get up, you go early at the beach. People have churches in the space. I, for one, like to go when, the sun is setting and just kind of have my meditation window there. It's kind of less crowded. I really enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
I go very early in the morning. And now if I lose those are part of my cultural expression that has been compromised by your idea of development and what it should look like and how it should be controlled. So, once the culture does not evolve in that context, I don't think we need to kind of put that on our people. As far as emergency services and access, it's really very painful to talk about a beach advocate, who died because of the inability to receive emergency care on the beach. And I got to tell you that beach had a road to it, and it had a gate, and the gate was closed. And I don't want to really kind of call out the name of that organization right now, because it's an organization that should have never been involved in exclusion of people from beaches. But Eve Auburn, passed away on the beach and was unable to receive the care absolutely that she needed, because of course the emergency vehicle had to take a different road to get to the beach because of who controlled that beach, blocked out the public and locked the public out, right? So these things don't guarantee, any development, don't guarantee access to services in a Jamaica, because gate lock and only certain people can go through them gate there, right? So I think, and it's something that we have been talking about when, JaBBEM met and discussed about coastal spaces and how they should be. And we talk about, a relationship with Jamaica on the coastline. We know a lot of Jamaicans can't swim, all right? And we talk about swimming lessons on beaches. You talk about lifeguard, we talk about community providing these kind of services on their community beaches and equip many people with the ability to do so. These things do not take excessive developmental strategy. What it takes is empowerment of communities to be in charge of beaches that or adjoining to these communities. And the communities will know what to do. You always have a lot of prolific swimmers from different communities. I mean, I have been on beaches where people, almost drown, and many of us, including myself, snap into action and act, okay?
Right.
Because our beaches are, people are always on them. And when you create this situation now where, you create rigid structures, you open us to all kind of things, and I'm not saying this is the reason for it, but that as long as and if I remember correctly, no one drowned in the Blue Lagoon until they had lifeguard there and the requirement to have life jackets in the Blue Lagoon. All right. And, I think 1 or 2 people have drowned since. Now, it may be all coincidental. All right. But the safety is something that we do consider within the spaces. Absolutely. Right. But development is not a requirement to ensure that, we are protecting our people. One of the biggest threat is the displacement, right? It is, the exclusion, and it is the disempowerment of our people, right? Or dispossessed from the space, and we just do not have the right. So I think the legislation that we're talking about must bring in right, all right? And I think it's a conversation that is happening across Jamaica. Dr. Rosalie Hamilton, has talked about and is pushing, through the Advocates Network, the need for constitutional reform that, empowers local communities. So you will hear about the participatory democracy component being spoke about as a different way of governance in Jamaica, because we have to decentralize the power structure in how the country is ordered, since independence, and empower local community. I think the empowerment of local communities is going to bring lots of solutions. Jamaicans are full of solutions, We're full of solutions, very creative spaces. We just never really have the chance to really do so because of how the system set. So we get excluded from it, and now things centralized and controlled out of Kingston. You just look at how the country run, right? Many have even elected MPs who should be running them spaces in a rural spaces end up in ministries in Kingston, and then all of them attention is directed there. Most of the senators who are appointed to the Senate, does not really come from local communities. So their conversation that, each local jurisdiction will get, 1 or 2 senators that, must be voted upon. All kinds of reasoning is happening around, this whole constitutional thing that, was just kind of dealt with badly by the current administration. Just never really put in the education and really offer the transparency, that and the discussion that is fully needed across the country, as to how we would like to govern ourselves. And I think community have the biggest power, right, when it comes on to management, conservation, in coastal spaces.
All right. Much respect, Devon. It's one of those discussions, beach access is one of those discussions that on one hand, you look at and just say, this must happen. There's no government, no enterprise should have any license to say, you cannot go into the water here, or you cannot swim across this section of water because you can't own the ocean. And by extension, this section of coastline is really asinine. And so we need to go ahead and use the tools that we have, starting with knowledge. You have done an excellent job in educating us as it relates to some of the rights that we have and some of the rights that are taken away. So the rights that we should have and how to go about exercising those rights. And I applaud you for that. thank you for the levels of education that you've brought to us over this time as we go on this journey and engage in this fight to regain our rights to beach access. Not some, all beaches. Much respect.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, man, give thanks.
Give the thanks because the vibes we get, people them outside. People outside don't big up on themselves, Big up on themselves. People outside are watching thing and have them conversation are going outside, so we join it and everything like that. And then when you look at the chat, you see that it is a pleasure and a joy and an honor to have you here because people like you educate the masses. It speak truth to power. Just speak truth to us, but it speak truth to power. And people respect you tremendously for that. And like Kevin said, this is a conversation that's ongoing, not a one-off thing, because they see it as a one-off that them control and that's it. But we don't see it as a one-off. And remember now, power doesn't yield. Power doesn't yield.
Yeah.
You have to do something to get what you want from the powerful and you have to make them respect you. And I think that in all of the quarters, you are respected. People who them kind of dislike what you stand for, them still respect the fact that come out, you do the thing, you get the people mobilized, and you're in the court, and you're doing it. Everything you're doing is above board and completely legal. So they can't come at you and say, well, him is at this and him is at that, and people can see through those arguments. So we just want to thank you for coming on again and explain the thing. And it is already. This is home for you. So whenever these issues come up, being in the court things, we really want you to come and explain to us what really took place so that people can keep abreast of the issues. Your parting words.
Yeah. I want you to project a slide I have on the screen right now, right? And okay. I want to put out a word to the Jamaican people, all right? That we are asking you to really, sign up to JaBBEM, follow us on our social media profiles, JaBBEM, Instagram, Facebook, JaBBEM and TikTok, right? If you can contribute to our legal fight, we're asking you to do so. We have a GoFundMe up there, or you can go through the one Jamaica Legal Defense Fund. You can go through that. If you want to help, if you have expertise, would like you to also reach out to us, let us know where expertise lies, and help us to really push for this change, right? JaBBEM is an equal rights and justice movement that is rooted in environmental justice, in social justice, right? In economic justice as it relates to the foreshore. And we live in 2025 right now, and I want you to really look at a comparison between remittances contribution and tourism contribution to the Jamaican economy, right? And look at how, because a part of your audience, Mr. Rattigan, is in the diaspora, but it's also in Jamaica. So the ones who are sending money to Jamaica, all right, and receiving the money in Jamaica must understand that you have economic power to affect change in your land. You can affect change. If the tourism industry makes $4.3 billion, and we already show us a $3 billion of it left Jamaica in 2024. You who contribute $3.36 billion, where that $3.36 billion stayed in Jamaica and empower people in Jamaica, you must have a say, not only the private sector who is saying, no, well, we make money in Jamaica. You who are send money down there actually is contributing and your money has stayed down there. I will not talk about other in-kind donation that you make through donation to schools, health fairs, you know what I mean, paying all kind of, you know, hospital bills, you know, I mean, help people with other kind of projects, you know, funding, scholarship programs in the country. The diaspora is contributing billions of dollars and must have a voice also. And so you need to talk to your family member down there about advocating for things. Now, if this can earn $4.3 billion for the country, just think about this $3 billion that diaspora is sending and $4 billion from tourism, $7 billion staying in the country. It means some change is going to afforded. And of course, we need the right set of people then we manage your money in other country to make sure that them now scrape and enough of and this money is not really been end up in a corrupt spaces. So the power of economics, if that is what's driving the tourism industry to have more say over beach rights, I'm saying that the diaspora, through its contribution to remittances, also have a say, and the recipients of the money in the country have a say as it relates to what and how we want the Jamaica society run. So me as put a word out there to say the diaspora have a role to play, and we the people in the country have a role to play because we are contributing to the economy also in other countries. So if the argument is purely economic, the context is there for them to listen to we the people. So we're in an election cycle right now in other country, and we are asked Jamaican people to really exercise your constitutional right to vote and vote on issues that matters, you know, not only to you, but matters also to the benefit of the nation. And I think changing laws and pushing a big component of the economy to really be democratic, to be just, to be economically equitable is a responsibility of us all. So that's where I will, end for today to say that the responsibility of the country and the direction in which it goes lies with we the people. So let us act in the interest of the nation.
My brother, just want to thank you again.
Thank you again.
Keep us posted on the legal fights and the other fights too. Not actual fights, but you know what I'm talking about, the protests and the initiatives to raise funds so that you can continue the fight, to champion the people's cause. So just want to thank you again, brethren. You always make us bright every time you come around. You know, you always come with gems and gems and gems and gems of information so that people can hang on to and at least feel a sense of hope that someday soon we will be able to access, we will be able to have unfettered access to all, not some, all of our beaches, our beaches. Thank you, my brother. Take care, Devon.
Give thanks. Blessed. Give thanks.
Yes,
Isis.